Hello everyone, my name is Naguura, and today I'm going to talk about what you should be focusing on in the first week of Season 1. I'm going to go over what new content unlocks and also a weekly and a daily checklist on what you should be focusing on to maximize your player power again. And on top of that, I'm going to explain some things about delves and some of the new things we have in the World Within. Alright, so let's get straight into it. First of all, we have the normal mode rate, the heroic rate, and the LFR first wing that unlocks. LFR drops veteran track gear, which is 584 item level to 610. It drops weathered harbinger crests. The normal mode rate drops champion track item level 597 to 619. It drops carved harbinger crests, and the heroic rate drops hero track item level 610 to 626. It drops runed harbinger crests, and then the last two bosses it drops gilded crests. Then the catalyst unlocks as well. You're gonna have one charge available and an additional one every 2 weeks. Mythic Zero unlocks, and there's not going to be any Mythic Plus. So Mythic Plus unlocks the week afterwards. Only Mythic Zero is going to be available during that first week of Season 1. Mythic Zero is going to be available for all Season 1 dungeons. So not all the War Within dungeons, but all Season 1 dungeons. So the 4 old dungeons as well, on top of the 4 new ones that are part of Season 1. The Mythic Zero dungeons drop Veteran Track, which is item level 584 to 610. And it drops Carved Harbinger Crests. Then we have delves that are available on higher than Tier 3. So you're going to be able to do Tier 4 to Tier 11. Tier 7 to 11 drop Champion Track if you use your coffer key. So the bountiful Tier 7 to 11 delves drop Champion Track, which is item level 597 to 619. And the highest item level base that drops is from Tier 8. So Tier 7 already drops Champion Loot, but Tier 8 is like the highest item level. So it's going to be 3 out of 8 Champion rather than 1 out of 8 on a Tier 8 delve. Additionally, the PvP season will start in this first week as well, which means that conquest items are going to be available. You do not need any rating to buy the conquest items. And in addition, you can put gems on the conquest PvP gear with the items you can buy with honor. So with the Vicious Jeweler settings, you can get really good items with the socket, of course. Of course, all of them are going to have versatility on them, so depending on how good versatility is for you. Then, the achievement, the War Within Season 1 Spelunker Supreme, will be available, and the reward for this achievement will be a Marketer's Spelunker Supreme, which is a heroic tier set token that you can trade in at the vendor to get a tier set. You need to have 1600 PvP rating to be able to get this, or kill Queen Ansurek on heroic at least, on the heroic difficulty, or you need to get 2000 Mythic Plus rating. So the Mythic Plus rating won't be achievable that first week because M Plus is not available, but you can, of course, kill Queen Ansurek on heroic, and you will be able to get the rating in PvP as well. Alright, so that's all that's going to be available in addition to what we already have before Season 1 starts. And now, because obviously that is a little bit overwhelming, I'm going to go through a weekly and a daily checklist that you can go through to see what's really important for player power gain. And again, keep in mind that since this week not everything is available, some of the things that I'm mentioning are going to be more min-maxy things that are not going to be as relevant anymore once the actual season starts, once Mythic Rate comes out and Mythic Plus is available. This is just how to get the most out of this week. So just keep that in mind. All right, so for a weekly checklist, first of all, you want to make sure that you clear the heroic rate, the normal rate, and the LFR first wing, or at least kill as many bosses as you can to, of course, unlock the vault and also to get item level and to get tier sets. Then you want to make sure you do the weekly meta World Soul quest for the Half Spark. You want to kill the World Boss for Champion Loot. Then you want to do the 4 weekly quests or activities for the Coffer Key chests. The main reason for this is the coffer keys, not for items, because the coffer keys are going to be for the delves. I'm going to explain that a little bit later. Then you want to do 8 delves on tier 8 or higher for the vault to get the maximum item level there from the vault next week. You can also do that on +7 if +8 would be too difficult for you because it drops the same hero track. It will just be a little bit lower item level, so you would be wasting crests if you don't do it on tier 8. Then you want to farm the Conquest Cap, which is 1600, by doing rated PvP content. The reason for that is because you can buy those champion track items from a PvP vendor, and then you can put sockets on them with Vicious Jeweler settings that you can purchase with honor. PvP items, if you really hate PvP, it's not going to be as important because, again, it's champion track loot, which will be easily replaced the next week with Mythic Plus gear. The only reason why I'm adding it is because you can add the socket. And sometimes having a champion item with a socket is going to be better than having a higher track item without a socket, depending on your class, depending on how good your secondary stats are, depending on how good versatility is for you, and so on. If you don't know what else to do, if you have a lot of time this week, then getting the Conquest Cap and buying those jeweler settings is a good idea. Then for our daily checklist, you do want to make sure you do the 4 bountiful delves on tier 8 or higher every day, or at least do them on tier 7, because again, tier 7 drops the same champion track. It just is a little bit lower item level. Keep in mind, you only want to do the bountiful delves if you have coffer keys, because otherwise it doesn't drop higher item level. And you want to make sure that you do all 8 Mythic 0 dungeons, because they're on a daily lockout, right? So you want to make sure you get that lockout rolling. So for the vault, the raid vault is pretty self-explanatory. To get the highest raid vault, you want to just clear the heroic raid. Then you will get the best item level possible from the raid vault. If you can't do that, then the next best thing is do as many as possible and fill the rest with normal mode, and then LFR. Then for the dungeon vault, the highest dungeon vault you can get is by doing 8 Mythic 0 dungeons. There's no way of getting any higher item level than that, so just make sure you do at least 8 Mythic 0 dungeons, which should be pretty easily doable throughout the week. And then for the World Vault, you want to make sure you do at least 8 tier 8 delves if you can. Keep in mind they don't necessarily have to be bountiful. And also keep in mind that tier 7 delves drop the same track. It's hero track that you get from the vault. But the tier 8 delves gives you 3 out of 8 hero track rather than 1 out of 8 that you would get from tier 7. So ideally you do 8 tier 8 delves for the vault, but you can also do 8 tier 7 delves if you can't do tier 8. And of course, if you do anything lower than tier 7, then you won't get the hero track loot anymore, and you will lose out on a little bit of item level there. Now, let me explain delves, because delves are a little bit more complicated because they're newer and some people maybe don't know how they really work. And in addition, there's some things you can do here to min-max. So this first week in Season 1, the delves are actually pretty important because they drop champion track loot on bountiful delves. And in addition, it unlocks hero track loot from the vault, which is actually the highest track that you can get from the vault outside of the heroic raid. So it's actually a really good item level that is accessible in the delves. So you basically want to do 4 bountiful delves per day because there's only 4 bountiful delves available. You can see them on the map. When you open up the map, you see the delves are indicated by the door, and the doors that have a glow around them, they are bountiful that day. Once you do the bountiful delve, the delve basically closes and turns into a normal delve again, even if you didn't open up the chest at the end. So once you finish the bountiful delve, there's a locked chest at the end, and you need a coffer key to open that chest. But even if you don't open the chest, the delve still turns into a normal one. So keep that in mind, because to be able to access tier 8 delves, which is the highest item level that drops from the bountiful ones and from the vault, you need to level up your delves first. You need to do a tier 3 delve to be able to access a tier 4, and then you have to do a tier 4 to get the tier 5, and so on and so on. So first, before you do anything else, make sure you level up your delves to tier 8, and make sure you do this in a non-bountiful delve. So you just go into any delve that is not bountiful, you do it on tier 4, then you do it on tier 5, on tier 6, on tier 7, and then you have tier 8 unlocked. Now, once tier 8 is available, you can then go into the bountiful delve if you have a coffer key, and then do that bountiful delve, finish it on tier 8, use your coffer key to open up that last chest. That one will then give you a champion track item. And in addition, there's one more thing to note here is once you do your first bountiful delve, once you open that chest for the first time, you will actually get an additional item, which gives you a quest. So you want to make sure you start that quest. It's called a Radiant Echo. And you have to fly to an area in the War Within, in one of the zones. It's indicated by an asteroid item on the map. You want to fly there, then there's like an orb that you can click. Once you click on the orb, you can turn in your Radiant Echo, and then an event will start. During this event, you can kill images and different things, kind of like a little bit of a scenario that is timed. And depending on how many mobs you kill there and how much you do during this time, you will get coffer key fragments. So this is actually decently important. You can do this in a group as well, so you can invite your friends and try to get as much done as possible to get more fragments, to then get more coffer keys in return. But not only is it important because of that, it's also important because you unlock the ability to loot additional Radiant Echoes from future chests from Bountiful Delves. So if you do a Bountiful Delve and you get the quest and you don't finish it immediately, then you basically lose out on the opportunity to get more of these Radiant Echoes, and then you would be losing out on more coffer keys, right? So definitely make sure you do the Bountiful Delve on +8 once, open the chest, get your Radiant Echo, do the Echo quest with possibly friends, try to kill as many mobs as possible. Then once you've done that, finish up the quest, and then you can do your additional 3 Bountiful Delves that are going to be available that day with your keys that you probably have available to yourself. Another thing to note here is if you don't have a key, then there's also no point in doing the Bountiful Delve, because the loot that you get from a non-Bountiful Delve, from a normal delve, caps out at tier 3 already. So no point in doing higher than tier 3 for any kind of items or anything, unless you just want to do it for fun, of course. All right. That's it about what you should be focusing on, what you should be doing in the first week of Season 1 of The War Within. I hope this really helped you out and gave you a little bit of an overview. I know it can be super confusing about what's coming and what isn't coming. I'm going to be doing another video for the week afterwards once Mythic releases and Mythic Plus comes out, so you can get a checklist for that one as well. And yeah, if you have any questions, make sure you ask in the comments below, or you can always come over to my stream at twitch.tv/Naguura to ask any questions there. And if you like this video and you're interested in more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching. Have a nice rest of your day, and bye!